After watching the 48 Hours program about Justine Vanderschoot, the program opens with a heart-wrenching shot of Justine's parents, Dawn and Lynette, by Justine's garden, a peaceful garden, surrounded by pain and emptiness her family has endured over the years. Watching Lynette tearfully reflect on how long Justine has been gone, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the passage of time, how nothing seems to ease the constant ache of losing a child. It's been over 20 years, yet the pain still feels so fresh to them. Christine, Justine's sister, is one of the most moving figures in the program. Her emotional words about how lonely she feels without her sister were hard to watch. Christine describes Justine as her best friend, someone she shared everything with. When Christine said, "lonely," I could feel the pain she's been carrying for all these years. The bond they shared was so strong, and it's even more heartbreaking knowing that Justine was taken away far too soon. The program also highlights Justine's vibrant personality, which adds another layer of grief to her story. She wasn't just a victim. She was a young girl full of dreams, creativity, and energy. At just 17, she was on the brink of pursuing a career in fashion, designing her own clothes and shoes. I felt a deep sense of loss, realizing how much potential she had and how it was all taken from her by someone she loved and trusted. But the real emotional journey begins when the focus shifts to Justine's relationship with Danny Bessemer, her boyfriend at the time. Watching the program, I could feel the tension in their relationship, even before the details of their toxic dynamic were fully revealed. Danny's jealousy and control over Justine were alarming, but what struck me most was how deeply he manipulated her. He didn't just want her love, he wanted her to belong to him, and him alone. When Justine began to grow apart from him as she developed feelings for someone else, Danny became consumed by the thought of losing her. The jealousy turned into a toxic obsession, and I felt so much anger and sadness for Justine, who couldn't break free from his grasp. Lindsay Morris, a close friend of Justine's, shared how Justine confided in her about Danny's possessiveness and jealousy, and hearing that made me feel so heartbroken for Justine, who was trapped by the person she loved. Brandon Fernandez, Danny's friend and accomplice, also plays a huge role in this tragic story. From the moment he enters the scene, the whole situation becomes even more complicated and manipulative. Initially, I thought Brandon was just another victim of the toxic relationship, but as the story unfolded, his role in the murder became clearer. What really struck me was how cold Brandon seemed when speaking about Justine's death. Despite his involvement, he appeared almost apathetic, unwilling to take responsibility for his actions. His statements during the investigation, where he described how Danny had manipulated him, left me disgusted by the lack of accountability and the way he tried to downplay his own role. Brandon's behavior, especially when he later helped cover up the murder, left me feeling sickened by the sheer lack of humanity. The way the program unfolds the investigation was incredibly tense and gripping. Detectives Ed Bonner and Angela Ford did an amazing job piecing together the puzzle, with subtle clues and actions from both Danny and Brandon eventually leading to the discovery of Justine's body. I found myself on the edge of my seat, wondering how the detectives would connect the dots between the lies Danny told and the inconsistencies in Brandon's story. What stood out the most to me was the chilling moment when Brandon was questioned by the FBI and finally broke down. His admission that Danny had planned the murder for a long time, and his description of the horrifying scene when Justine was killed, gave me chills. Brandon's description of Danny's eyes bulging out with excitement as he strangled Justine was deeply disturbing. It felt like Brandon was barely acknowledging the horror of the situation, as if it were just another moment in the chaos of their twisted friendship. But perhaps the most impactful part of the program was when Justine's family was interviewed about their ongoing battle for justice. After the conviction, Danny and Brandon's attempts to seek parole have been heartbreaking for the Vanderschoot family, as they are forced to relive their daughter's brutal murder again and again. The program made me feel a sense of anger at the fact that even after the killers were convicted, the fight wasn't over for Justine's family. Hearing Lynette's voice crack as she talks about how they are still facing the possibility of parole for the men who took Justine's life was incredibly emotional. Christine's resolve in fighting for Justine's legacy through the creation of Justine's Law felt like a small victory, but also a reminder that